What to do when your life is shit and going to hell. Part 3. So far, we have talked about all the problems you face because of your, separation from life, your identification with the world of form, with the outer world. And this includes the so-called spiritual people who have the same identification problem, in that they also identify with forms, even if they are spiritual forms. Forms are forms. The only difference being that spiritual people have a feeling, many of them, not all of them, a feeling that they are better than the average Joe Schmo just because they are so spiritual. And yet, as many of you would have found out, turning towards spirituality or starting to meditate does not, in fact, make you happy. That does not make you happy. You know what the marketing says. If you're tense, stressed out, start meditating. How meditation decreases tension by blah 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 %. I'm sure you've all heard the statistics. It's become so bad that meditation is now just seen as just another pill you take to relax. So much so that on many websites, that's all they talk about. Meditation for relaxation, meditation to feel peaceful, meditation to chill out, life getting you down, try meditation. And that's all fine. Meditation is good. And it can have calming effects. But those effects are usually temporary. And for some people like me, meditation used to make me angry. I don't know why. As soon as I sat down, all that pent up, all that suppressed anger came up and took over my mind. For me at least, the main marketing benefit of meditation, that is to make you calmful, did not work. At least not for a long time, and at least not until other conditions had been met. While it's good to promote meditation by saying that it helps reduce stress, the fact that meditation has become just another pill you swallow has done the field a lot of harm, I think. And the fact that many people feel shit even after meditating makes them give up meditation or run from guru to guru, trying to find the one secret meditation that will make them happy. So what is the solution? How do we escape this life full of constant stress and tension? I think I've given you this quote by Eckhart before. But the universe is an awakening machine. It is trying to awaken us spiritually by throwing problems our way. You need to understand that the problems of the outer world are not something that have been sent to make you feel shit, even though it may feel like that way. But that they have been sent to awaken you, which usually works by showing you where you need to put in the inner work, where you are struggling the most spiritually. Usually we have these mental ideas about what spirituality is. The idea that we will be sitting on a Himalayan peak in lotus pose, lost in a samadhi or trance-like state. But that's not what meditation is about. Meditation is about living our day-to-day life in our natural state, which is a state of peace, joy, calm, and happiness. A very natural state. It is not a trance-like state at all. Neither is it an otherworldly state. Oh, I'm so spiritual, the world won't affect me. Ha ha ha. The world does affect you even when you're spiritual. But your perception has changed. You no longer identify with the limited form of the current body or the current mind. So things that would have irritated you or made you angry earlier, they might still irritate you a little. But being in control of your mind, you understand that the irritation is just a thought. And you don't have to identify with that thought. You are not your mind. You are something bigger. And listening to this, you might think, oh, I understand. No, you don't. You don't understand. This is something that must be realized and not just understood at an intellectual level. And that is the way to go beyond pain and suffering, the daily shittiness of life, is to move beyond the mind into something bigger. But here is the thing, you as the ego, the part of the mind that identifies with the body, the part of you that wants to meditate and become spiritual, the part of you that reads spiritual books or listens to spiritual podcasts or watches spiritual YouTube videos, the part of you that sits there for an hour meditating, that part of you can never become enlightened. I know it's shocking, so let me repeat that. The part of you that wants to become enlightened is the part of you that's holding you back from enlightenment. For the ego, enlightenment is just another tick box, another award. It's like getting a bigger BMW or a sexier wife or a more handsome boyfriend. Big BMW, tick. Wife with bigger, tick. Enlightenment, tick. That's what the ego wants. And that's what it can't have. And that's why life brings challenges to you. So you can realize the futility of running after the world of form, which includes, let me repeat that, underlined. Okay, imagine I'm underlining this, which includes our ideas of what spirituality or enlightenment mean. They don't mean what you think they mean. They have never meant what you think they meant. The people who wrote your religious books and your scriptures, they did not understand them either. That's why Jesus or Buddha never wrote the Bible or the Dhampada. Many of these books were written after their death or by third persons like the Gita. Because for the person who knows, they know that words written or spoken can never show the truth, only point towards it. Words are still important because they show you the direction, but that's all they do. Like the Buddhist Zen Singh says, the finger pointing to the moon is not the moon. So coming back to my point, we all have some ideas about what spirituality is, and only if we could become enlightened we would be feeling so peaceful. I don't know about you, but I had these ideas that I would be floating in the air, that I would become like a otherworldly person, not affected by the problems of the world at all. But it doesn't work that way. That's not what meditation is. Meditation is resting into your own state, our natural state, which is a state of being, of awareness, of truth. Like I said, it's a very natural state. Life feels very relaxed in this state. You might not be able to keep this state 24 hours a day, at least not in the beginning, but you can go back to it anytime you want. And I've already told you the secret. Just one deep breath. That's all it takes to connect with being, our essential nature. The problem with, or the place where most people suffer is that they try to enforce their own views of spirituality on the universe. They think that the universe must act in a certain way, or their spiritual progress must go in a certain direction for it to be successful. But the universe does not follow the dictate of the ego, and that's why the ego feels suffering. But the universe, or our own inner teacher, tries to show us where we are going wrong by bringing us problems that we have to move beyond. One of the great books, not very well known because it is slightly not that easy to follow. This book is called A Course in Miracles. The Course in Miracles it uses the word miracle, but it uses it in a new way. A miracle is a shift in perception. A miracle occurs when your perception changes. The outer world does not change. Let me repeat that. The outer world does not change. It is our inner perception of the world that changes. That is a miracle. And what meditation does is, it brings about a change in perception. It doesn't make us calm or joy or happy. Meditation is not like a drug or a painkiller or something that can block or soothe our emotions. Meditation does not calm our emotions. In fact, it makes them worse, as I found out. And it's a lie to say that meditation calms you. Meditation brings out whatever has been suppressed so it can be worked through. And you have been suppressing anger, then anger will come out. If you have been suppressing hate of someone or jealousy, that will come out in meditation. Because these issues need to be worked through. Our inner teacher will always give us the lesson we need at that exact moment. And that lesson is unique for each of us. My lesson does not apply to you, and yours not to mine. That's why telling other people what to do with their lives is stupid. Even though I'm doing it now, even though I'm doing it right now, I'm telling you. But in general, I'm just speaking in general terms. In particular terms, telling person X that they must live their life in a certain way is wrong. Not just materially, but spiritually as well. Materially because it'll piss off the other person and they won't talk to you. And spiritually because you're interfering in that person's spiritual growth. Maybe what you're saying is right. But the other person has to realize this for themselves. Following the course, following the teaching plan his own inner teacher has set for him or her. And it is not your place. Not unless you become a Buddha or a Jesus or a Krishna. It is not your place to tell others what their spiritual path should be. The student of spirituality only works on himself or herself. It is not our job to fix the world. Not until we have fixed our own shit, as it were. Each one of us has a curriculum, a course assigned to us by our inner teacher. And we need to follow it as best we can. The reason we struggle or the reason we suffer is because we have lost in touch with our inner being, this inner teacher. That's been trying to help us since we were born, and maybe even before that. We struggle because we fight our own essential nature. Live in the moment, the cliche says. But what does that mean? Surrender to the universe, again, another cliche. What does it mean? It just means take each second by itself. You don't have to remain calm for the whole day, just for 1 second. Like Alcoholics Anonymous say, you don't have to remain sober for the whole year or for 10 years, just 1 day at a time. It's the same with us. We have to follow our spiritual path. We have to follow the teachings of the inner guide, 1 day at a time. Stop making grand plans of what will happen when we become enlightened. Because like I said, the part of us that wants to become enlightened is the part that is stopping us. It is the part making us miserable. There is something in us. Call it the inner teacher, call it being, call it God. There is something in us that wants to grow out of this limited shell of the mind and body, like a baby chicken trying to come out of its egg. So when it does that, when the baby chicken wants to come out of the egg, it hits the egg until the egg cracks and the baby comes out. Our own inner being is trying to come out of the shell we have created for it using our mind. We have entrapped it within ourselves and it is trying to leave. The ego feels scared of this because the ego knows that once the eggshell cracks, the ego will have to die because it will serve no purpose. That's why the ego fights it so strongly. That's why it replaces or it makes us run after worlds of the form, which might be a BMW or a bigger house or a better guru or a more secret meditation technique. All of these are traps of the mind created by the ego to entrap us, to keep us stuck in the world of form. But here's the bad news for the ego and good news for you. And by you here, I'm talking to your being, your spirit, not to your ego, not to the part of yourself that you think you are. So if you go to parties and you say, "Hi, my name is ABC and I work at XYZ," that's not the person I'm talking to. Mr. or Mrs. ABC, I'm not talking to them. I'm not talking to the person who sits there meditating for 8 hours, wondering why he or she aren't becoming enlightened. I'm talking to the inner you, the being who lives inside of you. Here's the thing, the being that I'm talking to already knows this. So in a way, the message is redundant for it. And the message is more for your ego. The message is this: the ego cannot stop the spirit from bursting out. The ego cannot stop it, no matter how much it fears death or annihilation. The meditation we do, all the spirituality we do, whether it's reading books, listening to audio, or going to yoga classes, whatever we do or we think we do, it's not actually us that's doing it. It's not the ego self, the one who calls himself Mr. X, Y, Z at the party. It's not him doing the meditation. It's something inside of us that wants to grow and that wants to burst out. That is the one using our mind, our current body, to meditate. This is slightly hard to understand. But the who we think we are is not important in the long term. That's why the inner teacher does not care so much about our suffering. That's actually false. The inner teacher does care about our suffering. But it also realizes that the only way out of this suffering is to accept who we are, to change our perception, our mind of the universe, by following the highly personalized curriculum the inner teacher has set for us. And this, like I said, these teachings are unique to each person. One person might be expected to become more loving. The other person might be expected to become more strict. A third person might be expected to learn to relax more, while a fourth person might have to learn how to take control and not let people walk over them. It depends on your curriculum. And the funny thing is, what your ego thinks is usually the wrong thing. You have to go inside. You have to ask the inner teacher in meditation what your personal curriculum is. And if you can't talk to the inner teacher yet, just look at your life. Where are you struggling? Where do you keep hitting problems? Money, relationships, work. That's where you need to learn what you need to learn, because life will always bring up problems which show you where you are not meeting the mark, where you need to improve on yourself. The inner self, the inner teacher, that's trying to burst out of the shell of this egoic mind. Like I said, it doesn't much care for our tiny problems. It is full of love and joy. But it also knows that as long as we are stuck in the body, in the egoic mind, we can never know true peace or true happiness. And so it must continue to send us problems or roadblocks until we learn to surrender to the universe. And this is not some surrender to an outer being, some God out there who will punish us if we are naughty. This is a surrender to our own inner being, our own inner teacher, the part of the divine that lives inside us and that's trying to grow from within us, and that is being blocked by our egoic mind. Like that old man said in Jurassic Park, life will find a way. Life in this case is the inner being. It will find a way to teach us the lessons we need to learn. The only question is, do we learn from love or do we learn from suffering? Most people are not in touch with their inner selves, and so they must learn through suffering. That is a sad fact of life. They must learn through suffering. And while this might seem cruel, the fact of the matter is that people are already suffering, but they are in denial. The inner teacher must first show us what is wrong with our life, what is wrong with the world of form. You must have all heard about famous movie stars, millionaires, rock stars who commit suicide. You might think, why would anyone with so much money kill themselves? Because ultimately they come to realize that the world of form cannot bring them happiness. But they haven't yet taken the next step to understand that to find true joy, they must go beyond the world of form. As I said earlier as well, the ego would rather die than accept that it is not the king of this world. And that's why people commit suicide, because they cannot accept that their ego is not the center of the universe. The sad thing is, our outer form, the form we were born with, which is what our name, our identity, our race, our sex, our culture, it does not necessarily dissolve after enlightenment. The form remains because the universe, the divine, the spirit, it needs our form to communicate with the rest of humans still stuck in darkness. So in a way, a part of the ego continues to live through us. That's why the Buddha said, that he would, after his death only would he reach the final nirvana, the final dissolution, because he was keeping a small part of his mind, egoic mind, to continue working in the world. And there's nothing wrong with that. Working in the world is important. Our own being, our spirit doesn't want us running into some forest or some mountain top to meditate. If it did, we would all have been born on mountain tops. Coming back to our original question, what do you do when your life feels shit and everything is stuck and nothing makes sense? The thing to do is first to look at where or what lesson your own inner teacher is trying to teach you. And the second is to go inside, whether by meditation or by spiritual inquiry. Questions like, who am I? What am I? Why am I here? These questions must be meditated upon, not just intellectually thought about. Your life feels like shit because you have assigned the wrong meaning to it. You have given it a meaning it does not have, it cannot have. And the way to go beyond that is to find something in our lives that has full meaning, that has always existed, that exists inside of us, and is even now trying to burst out. Okay, I'm recording this the next day because I was worried about the next part. Before I end this 3-part series, I wanted to give you a sort of a guide on what to do if your life is feeling like shit. But the problem is, the tyrannies of life cannot be reduced to 5-step programs. You cannot solve your life in 10 easy steps by following a 99 $99 a month program. That said, it's easy to be all spiritual, la-di-da, I'm so spiritual, and talk about stuff in generic terms without giving anything practical. And before I ended this part, I did want to give something practical. So here it goes. If your life is shit, this is the first thing you need to do. There are 3 states of mind: below mind, mind, and beyond mind. Below mind is when you're stuck in a dead-end job and you feel like shit all the time. Nothing makes sense and you're like, fuck this shit. This could be for your job or your relationships or indeed anything in your life. This attitude is a very bad one to have, though our media seems to encourage it in people. The problem with this below mind state is that it is one of dullness and stupidity, and you cannot make the jump from this state to the enlightened or beyond mind state. First, you must go through the mind. If you are already in the mind, where you think a lot, or if you're below the mind, the first thing you need to do is to turn your thinking towards the spiritual side. And no, surprisingly, it does not mean more meditating. If you're stuck below mind, meditation won't help you at all. It might even make you angry. To move from the below mind state, you need to do creative stuff. And this is the same if you're the mind state. The best way to move to higher states of mind are to engage in activities that are creative. Writing, playing a musical instrument, creating music, cooking, painting, anything that's creating new. Don't worry about not being good at it. You're not trying to make money. You're trying to go from a dull and stupid state of mind to a positive state of mind. And creative acts are the best way to do that. Choose anything in your hobby. If you've always wanted to write a book or learn a new musical instrument or learn painting, pick that up and really, really dedicate yourself to it, just as a hobby, half an hour a day. Try to become really good at it, whatever you picked up. Remember, it doesn't matter if you are never good enough to make money from your hobby. That's fine. Our goal is to take our mind from dullness to sharpness or to beauty. And creativity is a form of beauty, a form of the divine, because the universe itself is a creative act of our own inner self. So pick up a hobby, but treat it very seriously. So for example, if you don't have time one day to learn a musical instrument or write, read a few blogs about it. Go to your library and take out a book on musical instrument or how to write or whatever. Really push yourself to it. Really try to master whatever you picked up to your own standards. So if you're writing a book, write it good enough to be able to publish it. If you're learning a musical instrument, learn it good enough so that you could, in theory, play at a party or at a function without being embarrassed. You don't have to, but make sure that you are good enough. You're not just treating it as just another boring stuff you have to get through. And this is the thing. You must pick something you enjoy. Because when you do something that you love, that you enjoy, and that is creative, your spiritual state automatically rises without you having to do any meditation or anything like that. You don't need to meditate. And in fact, like I've said, if you're stuck in the deep rut of negativity, then meditation will not help you. Okay? So pick something creative up. It'll take you a few months, maybe even years, before you can become good enough at it. And that's fine. If you look at the top musicians, they spend 10 or 20 years just learning the basics of their craft. Yeah, good writers spend 5 or 10 years learning their craft before their books become bestsellers. You don't have to become a bestseller or a great musician. You just want to be good enough to be proud of yourself. So you can say to yourself, yep, I did that. Okay, this is the first state. Pick something creative, something you love, and stick with it. Obviously, when you pick something new, the first few days will be, ooh la la, this is fun. The romantic period. And after some time, you will get bored. But it is important to stick with this. You cannot just quit at the first problem, because that is also a game of the mind. The mind just wants to jump from here to there. And that's why whatever you pick up for the first time, make sure you really enjoy it, or make sure that you always wanted to do it. Each one of us has always wanted to be a writer, or learn how to play the violin or the guitar perfectly, or create a beautiful painting that will move people, or create beautiful dishes, beautiful and tasty dishes, the sort you could see in MasterChef. This is your chance. Actually do it. This will help you get out of the, like I said, the stuck state of mind. It'll take you towards a positive and a spiritual state of mind. Okay, and stick with it. Spend at least 6 months to a year at whatever you're doing. I would say at least 1 year. If you've been feeling shit for 6 months, you need to spend at least 6 months, preferably double that 1 year, doing something creative. If your job is creative, then you can improve on that. But very few of us are in creative jobs. And even if we are, we really get to do creative work because we're stuck doing routine work that makes a lot of money. And that's why it's better to do this in your own time, so that you can explore creatively whatever field you love without being worried about whether it'll make you money or not. Don't bring money into this because it'll put pressure on your creative side without helping you at all. Remember what I said. The really good people, they spend 5 or 10 years mastering their craft. You're not trying to master your craft. You just want to get really good at it. Good enough for your own standards, however you define them. The thing is that with the internet, you don't need to spend a lot of money learning anything new. There are millions of blogs, YouTube videos, podcasts that will teach you everything you need. Okay, let's move to the next step. Next step is, or this step will be done in parallel. Take some private time, which can be walked through the park is the best way, in which you are doing nothing, not listening to music, not checking your phone for messages, not reading a book, not talking to anyone, just quietly either sitting in a park or any other place, or walking alone in a park. Obviously, if you live in the big city and there are no parks, you'll just have to find a way around that. But spend at least 5 or 10 minutes a day, alone, doing nothing. No music, no books, like I said. Our biggest problem is that we are uncomfortable with ourselves. When we are left alone, all our negative thoughts start rushing in. All the thoughts of hate and self-loathing. That's why I walk. And this can be a walk at lunchtime. Everybody gets a lunch break. Have a quick sandwich at your desk and then go for a walk. Quiet walk. In the daytime you can just walk around the city if you don't have a park. But make sure that you are not distracted by having headphones or anything. The idea is that you become comfortable with aloneness, with only yourself. That you are not, every time you're alone, you don't rush for the TV remote or for your iPhone or your Facebook or Twitter messages just to escape the negative chatter in your mind. You might get some negative thoughts when you're alone, and that's why walking is so great, because you can focus on the road, and the activity of moving helps calm the mind. Sitting alone is harder because the mind needs something to do, and it will try to take over your thinking. But if you're walking, you can increase your speed or slow down. You can relax or move fast. This helps calm down the mind and also helps get rid of excess negative energy. So this is what you must do in parallel with the creative thing that I said. Spend some time alone with your thoughts. Preferably walking if possible. Preferably walking in a park or a garden again if possible. Or just next to some trees. Many cities have occasional trees planted here and there. Continue with this walking for a few weeks or a few months and get in touch with your inner thoughts. Once you're comfortable, then you can start meditating. Once you sit down, obviously, like I said, all that negativity will start rushing in, and that's fine. Because if you have been doing the creative exercises and taking lonely walks, then you have already, one, reduced some of the sting of the negative thoughts, and two, learned to deal with your own negative thinking. Because you have to accept that your mind is not you. You are not your mind. The part of you that thinks non-stop mechanically is not you. It can never be you. You are something beyond the mind. So bring in meditation slowly. If you don't know how, just sit and watch your breath. Breath goes in, breath goes out. Breath goes in, breath goes out. To make it even easier, you can add some movement to your breathing. What I find is that while standing, I raise my hands on the in-breath. Hands go slowly up. Hands come slowly down. Obviously, do this alone if you're embarrassed. The advantage of movement is that again it helps shut up the non-stop chatter of the mind. If you know something like Tai Chi, you can also incorporate that. But you don't have to do formal Tai Chi. You can just do soft movements, which can be uncontrolled. So let your body move like it wants to move. Close your eyes, focus on your breath, and let the hands and the legs move like they want to. You'll be surprised at how the body wants to move. The body knows how to release the tension stored in it, and it will do so automatically if you just let it. There are no fixed instructions, but there is one last instruction I'll give you. Spend a few minutes a day again doing nothing, at least not thinking. So if you drive to work, when you reach work, turn off the car and sit quietly for 2 minutes. Just sit, breathing, that's it. If you don't take the car, you can do it in the canteen or on the train or wherever you are. Again, you can be standing. And you don't have to do it the whole time, just 2 minutes. 2 minutes of being there. Just standing on or sitting in the train, doing nothing. Sitting in your car, doing nothing. Just breathing. Trust me, this is a super duper powerful meditation. It only takes 2 minutes so your mind won't get bored. And it really helps calm you down. It helps bring the mind under control of your inner self. Later on, you can increase the duration, not at the same time. So for example, if you're going for a coffee, don't go there checking your mobile phone or thinking about what you will do after work. Walk quietly, just watching your breath. It is possible. If you find watching your breath while walking hard, focus on your hands and legs. You can do this several times a day. Every time you go for a coffee or a tea or to the toilet, just walk consciously. There is no need to do special meditation. Although special meditation session does help if you have the time. Again, when you start off, just do meditation for 5 or 10 minutes. Don't push yourself. Instead of trying to have a 1 hour meditation at the end of the day, which you will forget to do or won't have time to do. It's better to have a lot of mini meditation sessions spread out throughout the day. At the minimum, the 2 minutes before starting work is the best one I found. Just sit quietly in your car or on the train for just 2 minutes. You can also do 2 minutes when you get home. Don't rush up home. Spend 2 minutes quietly. Silence is a great tool to quiet the mind and achieve peace. But we have trained the mind to hate silence. even when we are free for a few seconds, we use that time to check our email or our messages on our phone or update social media. Instead, you need to learn how to cherish the moments of silence that you have each day. If you follow these steps, I can't guarantee you that all your problems will go away. I can guarantee that the way you look at them will change. You will have a shift in perception. A miracle, as the Course in Miracles says. The outer world won't change because the outer world never changes. It is your own inner state of being that changes. And that's what brings about a state of joy, a state of peace. And when your mind starts to calm down, to shut the hell up for 2 seconds, when you're at peace, at silence, when you're silent, that's when the inner self, the inner teacher that is trying to grow, can start to assert itself. The more time you spend in silence, the stronger it becomes, until one day it will be able to guide you directly. You don't need a guru in the outer world when you have the perfect guru inside of you. All you need to do is learn to listen to it. But talking to the inner guru is a whole topic of and in itself. So maybe we'll talk about that another day. Until then, thank you for listening. And remember, no matter how shit or horrible your life seems, the joy and peace of being, of spirit, or God, whatever you want to call it, the joy of being is just one breath away. You can touch your inner self, your real self, in just one breath. Even one breath is too long. It takes but a moment. You've forgotten who you are. You're not this limited body, stuck in a cruel world that seems to hate you. You're a being of perfection. You've always been perfect, and everything around you is perfect. All you need to do is learn how to settle, learn how to live in the silence of perfection. Thank you for listening. And before we go, deep breath in, hold, let it out. Deep breath in, deep breath in, thank you for listening. If you want a free course on how to contact your inner teacher, your own spiritual guide, the part of the divine who lives inside of you and is guiding your spiritual progress, then please go to my website, thepathtojoy.org. That is thepathtojoy.org. Thank you.